Lesley, welcome to the Wire to Wire podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Yusuf. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's great having you on. So I'm just going to give a very brief introduction of who you are. So you're the founder of Riverbend Consulting. So if you kind of want to take it away and just tell the audience a little bit about what that is and what it is that you do.
Absolutely. So, Riverbend Consulting is a team of almost 100 people now. We're about 5 years old. And my partner, Joe, and I founded the company to help third party sellers and vendors, largely who sell on Amazon. So, selling on Amazon can be super challenging. There are all kinds of weird problems and bizarre things that happen as a seller and a vendor. And, we're a business that should not exist, right? If it was easy to go out there and just be on e-commerce, no one would need us. But working with huge companies like Walmart and like eBay and like Amazon, sellers just have a lot of things that happen. So, like some of our clients get suspended from Amazon or their products get taken down, and they need someone to give them a helping hand to fix those problems.
Yeah, and I definitely, at some point in the podcast, I do want to discuss some of those problems that sellers might run into. But first, I just kind of want to get a little bit into your origin story and how you got started. So if you kind of want to share the story behind Riverbend and how this company came to be.
Absolutely. So I started selling on Amazon in 2010, which makes me like really old in e-commerce. I always say I'm not a grandma in real life, but I'm a grandma on Amazon, right? And I've been selling on eBay even longer. And then before that, I was actually in old school management consulting. So I helped people write business plans and SOPs and all those super not exciting things that help people to run businesses efficiently. So when I got into the Amazon community and started going to conferences and meeting people, I would run into other sellers who had these kinds of management-y problems, like getting their ASINs taken down or not understanding how they should write SOPs for their business. So along the way, I met a guy named Joe, and Joe's account had been suspended from Amazon, and he was very distressed. It had been down for a couple of weeks. It was a large beauty account, and he got referred to me. And Joe gave me his business, and I wrote a plan of action and got him back up in a couple of days. And now he is my business partner at Riverbend because I saved his account way back in the day. And he's the sales guy, and I'm the operations person. So it's a nice melding of the Amazon how-to and the sales with like the old school, accounting firm style management consulting that we try and put in place with really good customer service.
Yeah, I love it. It's interesting. You never know who you may meet or who you may end up working with, right? So
Yeah, very
on
true.
on that note, like, from your experience, you can like I'm sure you realize that, business is never a linear thing, right? There are many bumps and roadblocks and obstacles that people face along the way. So, with you establishing this company, what were some of the struggles or early challenges that you faced along your journey?
So that is such a good question. I tell you, there are some things that I preach to Amazon sellers that we didn't do a good job at early on. Because I always talk to people about not having all your eggs in one basket, right? You don't want to only have the one product line or the one platform that you sell on. It's really dangerous. Well, early on in our business, we were very focused on just helping people get their accounts reinstated. And, it was feast or famine. Sometimes Amazon wasn't really suspending many accounts. We didn't have much business, and it was really dangerous for us. So we started diversifying and adding monthly services so that we have some repeating revenue, which is really great and lets you sleep at night and make payroll and all those exciting things. And then we branched out beyond just doing the account suspension type work to doing some other services that are easy to cross sell to our existing client base. And I think so many people can do that with their business. You just have to think of the adjacent service or the adjacent product that you can cross sell to people who already like you. And by doing that, we went from, first a very scary place to a kind of slow growth place to really being able to grow quickly.
Yeah, I think yeah, you touched on something important there in terms of the diversifying and adapting to the market, right? Because a lot of times, sometimes we can be our own obstacles or we kind of put those barriers on ourselves, right? Because we just have maybe a skill set or a particular need that we're trying to resolve. But then it's like, wait a minute, you can still work on those things and still do other things, right? So I think it's really good that you recognize that and you made those adjustments. So through Riverband Consulting, you obviously have a lot of experience working with different brands and sellers. And I'm sure you know what separates those who experience success with Amazon selling and those that have difficulties with selling on Amazon or reaching a certain level of success. So, what would you say, in your experience, are some of the keys to finding success when it comes to selling on Amazon?
Okay, so the first most basic thing, and some people will think this is too basic, but I've seen really nice size sellers make this mistake, is not knowing your numbers, not putting very basic accounting and expense tracking in place from day one. Because a lot of people who sell online, they're hustlers. And I don't care if you're like, someone who wants to work out of your basement and be just one guy or have a family business, or if you are someone who hustles inside of a bigger company and you're like the e-commerce manager or the brand manager inside that company. E-commerce people are hustlers. They work really hard. They can make great deals, they can source great products, but if you don't understand which of your products are making money and losing money, which ones the return rate is insanely bad and it's actually killing your entire account's profitability, if you're not keeping an eye on product quality and details, man, you're going to go out of business really fast. So the number one thing is you got to know your numbers for every single product, like what it's costing you and what your real profitability is. And then number two is product quality is king. You may think you have the best product in the world. Your opinion does not matter. The opinion that matters is the people who buy the product. And I have actually had clients who had no idea what their return rates were. Like they never tracked it. And so we went through and looked at the account and found out, oh, these two products are all of your returns. Why are you selling them? So a lot of the difference between the people who make money and don't is just data and numbers. And while that sounds boring, it can save you from just losing a business really fast.
Yeah, that sounds very simple, but it does seem pretty important because if you don't know the numbers, and how do you know what's working and what's not working, right?
There are a lot of Amazon sellers out there who are smaller family businesses that do not close their books until January. Like they'll go the whole year and they don't close their books every month and they don't track their expenses like in a spreadsheet or in Quicken or QuickBooks or whatever they're using. They do not do the numbers until the end of the year. That is dangerous and scary. And there are business units inside of larger organizations that do the same thing. I will tell you, selling on e-commerce, it does make all of that more difficult because there's so many expenses and fees and returns, and they don't all happen in the same month as the sale, so that can make the accounting a little more challenging, but you still at least need a ballpark.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, listening to you speak about those experiences, but also talking about River Bend, I think that's why what you're doing is important because many times, it doesn't seem like people would always factor in the things that can go wrong when it comes to selling on something like Amazon. There's kind of like this blind trust that it's just going to work and it's just going to happen on its own, right? But there's so many of those little details that can put, sellers in a potential bind, right? Or they may even inadvertently like violate a term or condition without realizing they're doing it.
So I can tell that you have learned about this world from what you just said, because you're absolutely right. And there are a lot of folks who assume that the rules are the same from platform to platform, and they don't. We a lot of times call it eBay seller syndrome. People who've been an eBay seller for a really long time, and then they port on over to Amazon, and then they think, oh, I create my own listing for every product. No, Amazon has a catalog, and they want one of each product, and that's it. And you can so easily violate the rules and not understand. It's just like on Amazon, if you ask for reviews and offer a discount, oh, you can be banned forever. And there are other platforms where that's not the case, and they probably aren't going to find it. Oh, Amazon will find it. So yeah, you've really got to know the rules for the sandbox that you are playing in.
Yeah. Yeah, I was doing a lot of research in regards to Riverbend. I'm just trying to like, familiarize myself with it, but also to, having a podcast being on different platforms, right? So for example, Spotify might have specific terms and agreements, but then YouTube will have its own that might not match up with Spotify. So learning how to navigate these different worlds. So I can kind of transfer that experience and see where you're coming from. And you kind of touched on one of them there. So, for example, asking people for reviews in exchange for discounts. Do you find some of them also are some of the common reasons why Amazon would typically suspend a seller?
A lot of it is around product quality. So it's when a buyer complains and they say, this isn't exactly what was advertised on the page, or it came opened or damaged, or it's fake, it's counterfeit, it's inauthentic, it's expired, which is actually considered fraud on Amazon if you're selling things that are expired. So product quality is a huge category, and really where most of the complaints do come from. And then another set of things is around like delivery experience. So are you shipping, if you're shipping yourself, are you shipping on time? Are you uploading valid tracking information? Are you making sure people get what they ordered by the delivery promise date?
Okay, yeah, that's good information. And maybe you can kind of demystify something because sometimes on Instagram, like you see pages that say, oh, it's simple, buy something from Alibaba, sell it on Amazon at a higher cost than what you purchased it for. Just like that. You become you make six figures or seven figures, whatever the case may be. So is it really that simple as they try to make it sound, or are there more nuances to it?
Yeah, so a lot of the guys who sell those courses and strategies are the same ones that like show their rented Ferrari in front of their rented mansion with the rented girlfriend draped over the rented Ferrari, right? um, yeah, so it's it's that easy for about a hot second, and then you will come up with all kinds of problems. So the Alibaba strategy specifically doesn't work because most of the goods on Alibaba are either generic or they're fake. So obviously, if you list fake products, someone's going to complain. They're going to figure it out. That's going to get taken down for that. Amazon does not like generic products. People will try and brand them with their own brand, but you actually have to have the branding on the product itself. You can't just say it's Lesley brand, and then when you get it, it's a generic white box item. Now, what people in the States tend to do that don't do Alibaba flipping, there is a lot of flipping that's retail arbitrage and online arbitrage. And that is where you are going to the Walmart or the discount store or online, and you're finding stuff that you can buy and you can flip it for sale on Amazon. There are some challenges with this. You have to make sure the receipts are really good quality, and you have to make sure you're not buying liquidation. So, dirty secret, if you go to a discount store like a TJ Maxx, a lot of that stuff is liquidation. And you'll notice if you've ever been to one of those stores, like the toys are all random. It's not like they have a set of 5 of this and 5 of that. It's like all random. These are all liquidation lots that are returns, and a lot of them, the boxes are torn up. So you've got product quality issues, but then the receipts don't actually have a UPC code. And so if Amazon has a complaint against you and you give them the receipt, it doesn't have the UPC. So Amazon knows it's liquidation and they don't like that. But can you flip goods that you buy uh, that are from like a regular retailer and make money? Absolutely. There are people who do it every single day, but you really have to be careful about your authentic documents and making sure you don't sell anything that is ugly that you wouldn't want your mama to get in a nice clean box.
Yeah, so I'm really glad that you clarified that, because I think, you know, a lot of people, they kind of want to get rich quick, right? So they think of all these different strategies and they think it's as simple as one, two, three, but there is a lot of layers to it. So it's good to have someone with your experience to really shed light on what it actually is. It's possible, it's very possible, it's very doable, but it's going to take diligence and effort and homework. It's not just as simple as that. So I'm glad that you clarified that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing I really want to warn against when you talk about the ads out there and the TikToks and things, um, you've probably seen some that they call it automation. They say that you can buy an automated Amazon store and we do everything for you, and you pretty much give them a credit card and they buy inventory and they flip it. What they are doing is against Amazon policy. It's drop shipping. So it's where they're actually listing items like they're on Home Depot's website. And if someone buys it, they place an order from Home Depot and it's delivered to the customer in a Home Depot box. So the reason I'm giving you that detail is Amazon does not allow that. They will not allow drop shipping where you're getting another store's box. And if they do, here's the scary part. If they find out you're doing it, they don't just suspend your account, they hold your funds forever. So we have had many, many clients who have been clients of these automation services that they have paid tens of thousands of dollars to set up these stores. Then they have tens of thousands of dollars of inventory charged on their credit card. And they'll have $100,000 in their Amazon account that Amazon locks up and will never let them have.
Yeah, that's, see, I didn't know that. So I learned something new there. And I think it's really good that you're sharing that. Um, I think, you know, whenever you see things, you always have to use like discernment and judgment when trying to decipher what it is that's actually being told to you, right? So it's good that you're making that distinction and you're clarifying that. So on that note, I kind of want to shift gears a little bit. So someone is new, they're really genuinely, honestly interested in opening up an Amazon store and they want to do it the right way. So they reach out to you at Riverbend Consulting or one of the amazing staff members that you have on the team, and they're looking for some guidance and they're looking for some support. What would Riverbend do to help that person?
So we don't usually help people to launch a new store.
Mhm.
That's really not our gig, but we will give them as much advice and support as they need. And right now, can I tell you my very favorite strategy for if you want to start your brand new Amazon store? Because I think it's good.
Yeah, share it. This is the space. Share.
Okay, so what's really tough, the hardest part about launching a new store is finding something to sell. And usually the ultimate goal is to be a private label seller where you've developed your own products, you're selling your own products online. That's like the holy grail. But not many people can start there. And do you really want to start there? You really want to learn what you're doing first, right? Before you invest a ton of money. And there's so many moving parts that you haven't figured out. So a lot of people, their first step is to do retail arbitrage or online arbitrage, like we talked about, or they get a relationship with a wholesale company and they sell wholesale goods on Amazon. Well, there's a better way to do it than selling wholesale goods. So wherever you live in the United States, in Canada, wherever you are, you have business parks near your town. Every town has little business parks. And y'all know what I'm talking about. There are these little areas where there's like mixed office and industrial, and there are businesses in there that are creating products. Some of them are business and industrial and scientific products. Some of them are consumer goods. Some of them are specialty goods. And they are selling their stuff either direct to retail stores or they are selling to distributors of some sort or wholesalers. And a lot of those guys should be on Amazon, but they do not want to do e-commerce. They're scared of e-commerce. It's something they do not want to learn. And who can blame them? That's not their gig. They're manufacturers, right? But they will trust you because you live in their town. You're like right down the street. You're their neighbor. I have known so many sellers who have launched a great store by finding just two or three of these small manufacturers and making a deal and saying, look, I am going to create your listing detail pages with all the beautiful photos. We're going to do product video, great keywords. I'll even do some advertising, but I want to be your exclusive seller on Amazon. So don't sell to anyone else you're selling online. And I want a great deal on your products. So I want your wholesale rate, but I also want the right to return if they don't sell. And most of these guys will be like, sure, do it, because they just want to find out if it's going to work. There are so many sellers out there that have gotten their start that way. And the brilliant long term of it is you don't have competition. So if you're just doing retail arbitrage and you go down to the Walmart and buy the hot toy, there could be 200 other sellers on that listing. And they'll start dropping the price and dropping the price. And in the end, you won't make anything. But if you can find exclusive products from some local manufacturer that you can sell and you can build online, you don't have to have a high volume to have a nice side stream of income and get you going.
Yeah, that's actually a really great idea. So I hope people listening are taking notes because you're giving a lot of gems to them and a lot of great information to work with. So if someone is an existing seller already,
Mm-hmm.
they get contacted by Amazon saying that their account is in violation, right? Which is something that I'm sure you see very often. So now they contact you. If you can kind of walk us through that entire process. So from the moment they contact you up until it gets to the point of resolution, what role does Riverbend Consulting play in that, and how do you guys assist?
Great question. So when someone contacts us, the first thing we do is we ask them to send us whatever nasty gram they got from Amazon, because sometimes the language is confusing and sellers are really nervous. And so they jump to conclusions. And we want to make sure, sometimes it's just a warning and you don't have to appeal. And other times they're saying, you have 72 hours, then we're taking your account down. So we get the information from them. And if it is something that they really do need to appeal, we onboard them as a client. And we have a team of consultants. We have 15 ex Amazonians on our staff, in addition to a ton of support staff. We create a ticket in our system and then set up a call with that client and the consultant so they can discuss the issue. We can answer all their questions, make them feel comfortable. And then we help them by writing the appeals to Amazon, and then the client submits those appeals. And the reason for that is Amazon doesn't want to hear from a third party. It has to be linked up to your account. And if for some reason you're already in a deep hole and Amazon's not talking to you anymore, we help to escalate it to executives inside of Amazon. So we know different teams, different people who specialize in different areas at Amazon who care about different issues. So if it's a brand registry issue, there are certain people who care about that. If it's a safety issue, there are certain people who care about that. If you're a veteran and you're a seller, there are certain people at Amazon who care specifically about you. And we make it our business to know who cares about what and help escalate until we can solve that issue. Sometimes it's solved overnight. Sometimes, if it's really bad, it can drag on for months. I hate to even say that out loud, but we have people who get suspended for accusations of fraud and counterfeit. And so sometimes those, there's a legal part to it at Amazon in addition to just the regular stuff. But most of our sellers' problems are solved in three days to 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And I like that you really emphasize the 15x Amazonians because it shows that you have people who have experience already being with Amazon. So they know what they're looking for. They know how the system works internally at Amazon, right? So they can always lend that experience to the client that you guys will be servicing, right? So I think that part is really good.
Yeah, and Amazon has ways that they like their employees to think. It's just like they have ways they like their employees to present information at meetings. You're taught to think a certain way. And sometimes just having a team member on our staff who can help think through a difficult problem the quote unquote Amazon way is very helpful. Or when they launch some new program, or sometimes the enforcement against our clients don't make sense, just flat out don't make sense. And so when something doesn't make sense, then we have to have our entire team brainstorm and figure out, what is Amazon thinking on this?
Yeah, and it's good that, like I kind of mentioned earlier, it's good that sellers can have someone like you in their corner, because again, we always assume it's just gonna work until it doesn't, right? And then what do you do? So it's good that you guys are there. So this part of the podcast, I like to call it open floor. So it's just really an open forum for you to communicate anything that you want to let the audience know about. The floor is all yours. Is there anything that you would like to communicate or indicate?
Okay, so I'm going to go like totally off book and say and say that, one of the best parts of e-commerce, I think, and having an e-commerce business, a lot of the sellers I work with, they have a lot of freedom, and they really have the ability to decide how they want to spend their time and what they want their future to look like. And like you mentioned earlier, it's a lot of hard work. There are these misconceptions that everything is easy. It's not, but once you've got good systems in place, e-commerce is very exciting. And I think long term, it's going to have a great future. But I will tell you that me personally, what has mattered to me and I think really helped me to focus on growing my business is to think about bigger things than my business. So I'm very motivated to have a great business for my team and my employees and my clients, but also for my family and for some causes that I care about that my family likes to fund. So we specifically focus on childhood cancer initiatives and related charities to that. And I would encourage anyone out there who is thinking about being an entrepreneur. Everyone talks about finding your passion. That's so overrated. I mean, everything doesn't have to be a huge passion, but I think it does help to have things that are bigger than yourself. To say, you know what, this isn't just for me, because there are times when selling is hard. There are times when online business is hard, and you've got to have your reminder in your head. I'm doing this for my kids. I'm doing this for the causes I care about, the people I can help. Not just the vacation you want to go on, although that's nice too.
Yeah, you said a lot of important things there. Um, and one thing that I do agree with you that, yeah, it's good to have the financial freedom and, getting more time to do more things, but it's like, then what, right? It's like, it is good to have something greater than you, right? So, for example, spending time with family, causes that you may care about, seeing ways that you can give back. I think those things are very important too. It's like paying it forward. But one
Yeah.
thing that I do kind of want to discuss, because you did touch on it a little bit. So the last thing I kind of wanted to get into with you is, you have experience for well over a decade in this space, right? So it's kind of a two-part question, but where do you see the direction of e-commerce selling going in regards to Amazon, right? And then what role do you see Riverbend Consulting playing in playing in the future of commerce selling, if you will, if you had to make like some kind of prediction?
Ooh, that's a tough question. The first one's easier. So, so we'll start with the easier one. So right now we're kind of in a little blip here because there's some economic turmoil. There's been a lot of increased costs for people in retail and e-commerce. And there's going to be a little bit of a shakeout, I think, in 2023 for a lot of online sellers, online retailers, and brick and mortar. Anytime that there's a recession, anytime that there's stagflation and inflation, there's a shakeout, right? So short term, there's going to be some pain, but I think we all see that e-commerce is still the future of retail. People still like the convenience. They like being able to find whatever they want. You can't get everything down at the corner store, right? And so over time, I think we're just going to see more steady growth from e-commerce after whatever happens in 2023. So those who survive over the next year are going to be super well positioned to see an industry that's going to continue to have 8 to 10% annual growth, just like it has in the last, what, 5 to 10 years, which has been super fantastic. As far as Riverbend, so we were on the Inc. 5000 list this year. We were number 623, with our 3 year growth being at 1100%, which makes my head hurt because you know how you like do something and you look back and say, how did I do that, and did I sleep? So you know, I'm always thinking, can we grow like that again? So the role that we want to play is to help more sellers and more brands, and also help vendors. Being a vendor on Amazon is just as hard as being a seller. And we do some work with vendors now. We want to continue that because they face a lot of challenges. We're also pushing to expand into other marketplaces. So we're helping more with people who are on Walmart, Etsy, eBay. All these platforms have trust and safety as part of their risk management strategy. And where there's trust and safety, there are going to be suspensions and interpretations and help needed. And then, really, the last and to me most exciting part of our business, I told you we've had to add new streams of income, right? Because that's the smart thing to do, to add other product lines. So we do like product videos and listing optimization. But my favorite thing we're doing right now is kind of like a reverse e-commerce. So we have a side business called Project Retail, and we help people who have successful Amazon products to get their products into brick and mortar stores. And it's like a total, like, flipping on its head what everyone's been thinking about for the last decade. Everyone's like, I got to get my product that's in retail stores online. Well, there's a lot of built on Amazon and built online products out there that are not available in retail stores that have so much data showing how much people love them and the great sales they're doing. So I'll give you an example. There is a really great crayon brand that is all natural. Like, you can actually eat it, because it is all natural. And they've been online for years. And we just got them into 3,500 Walmart stores. So because we had all this great data showing how awesome they are. So first we did an online test, and then we did a back to school test, and then we did another, you know, like a 500 store regular season, like, you know, in the arts and crafts aisle test. And then they put us in 3,500 doors. So I think there's a lot of, like, I hate this word, synergy, where e-commerce brands should be saying, where else should we be and how can we be there? And I want us to be one of the players and leaders in helping make that happen.
Yeah, and I definitely think it is something that you can do. And you already laid the foundation to doing those things already, right? And sounds like you have a good success story there with the crayons. It's definitely good. Congratulations on the 1100% growth. Hopefully you can exceed that and continue to do so. Yeah, it definitely sounds like Riverbend Consulting is going in a great direction. So it's exciting to see what the future has in store. But yeah, Lesley, thank you so much for your time. And where can people get connected to you or find you?
So you can find us at riverbendconsulting.com. And here's what's really exciting. We have a phone number on our website, and people actually answer, like humans, answer the phone and will talk to you and answer your questions like in real time. It's crazy these days. And then also, if you are over on LinkedIn and you search for Lesley Hensell, I post content about Amazon and e-commerce every day of the week, or almost every day. So come over and connect with me there. And thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, of course, and I'll include all those details in the description of this episode so people can go and check it out. But it's been definitely great having you on. Great conversation.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. You ask really great questions, so that makes it even more fun.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, until next time.